Hello and welcome back to Droanacharya IAS YouTube channel. You're watching Daily Current Analysis covering 12th May 2022. इस वीडियो लेक्चर में हम आज के इम्पॉर्टेंट करंट अफेयर्स डिस्कस करेंगे। इस वीडियो में हम मैरिटल रेप, पार्डनिंग पावर ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट एंड गवर्नर, द फॉरेन कंट्रीब्यूशन रेगुलेशन एक्ट FCRA, MARSQUAKE एंड एम प्राइम प्रोग्राम, ये कुछ टॉपिक्स आज हम कवर करेंगे। सो लेट्स बिगिन विद इट। तो चलिए शुरुआत करते हैं। आज का हमारा पहला टॉपिक इंडियन सोसाइटी पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इम्पॉर्टेंट है, देयरफॉर दिस बिकम्स रेलेवेंट फ्रॉम JS पेपर 1 पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. It is regarding the marital rape. So recently, Delhi High Court delivered a split verdict in a batch of petitions challenging the exception provided to marital rape in IPC. Indian Penal Code में marital rape को जो exception provide की गई थी, इसको लेकर दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट ने एक split verdict दिया है. So इस पूरे इशू को अगर हम देखें तो basically court was hearing the clutch of 4 petitions. Those were challenging the constitutionality of the exception to the section 375. And in petitioners में All India Democratic Women Association भी involved है. Now सबसे पहले समझते हैं that what is the law on marital rape. तो IPC का section 375 this defines the rape and this lists the 7 notions of consent that if they are vitiated would constitute the offence of rape by a man. However, इस provision में एक crucial exemption आती है. The sexual intercourse or the sexual act by a man with his own wife, the wife not being under the 18 years of age, is not rape. This is what section 375 of IPC states. So the only recourse against the non-consensual sex for the married women are the civil provisions under the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act or section 498A of IPC, which is on the cruelty against a wife by husband or husband's relative. तो जो सेक्शन 375 का है जो कि रेप को डिफाइन करता है और 7 नोशंस ऑफ कंसेंट यहाँ पे लिस्ट किए जाते हैं, यहाँ पे जो मैरिड women and men if the woman is above 18 years of age, this is not considered as rape. This has been a exception to article 375 of IPC and इसको डील करने के लिए कुछ और एक्ट्स को लिया जाता है, प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ वुमेन फॉर डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस एक्ट या फिर सेक्शन 498 ऑफ IPC, बट सेक्शन 375 में एक एग्जेम्पशन दी गई है. ना इस इशू को लेकर अगर हम गवर्नमेंट का स्टैंड देखें तो इनिशियली सेंटर डिफेंडेड द रेप एक्सेप्शन, but later the central government changed its stand and told the court that it was reviewing this law and that the wider deliberations are required on this issue. तो इसे लेकर सॉलिसिटर जनरल ने एक कोर्ट की नोटिस में बताया दैट 2019 में कमेटी सेटअप की गई थी बाय मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ होम अफेयर्स दैट वाज टू रिव्यू द क्रिमिनल लॉज इन इंडिया. And even Delhi government argued in the favor of retaining the marital rape exception. यहाँ पे कुछ लैंडमार्क जजमेंट्स की अगर हम बात करें तो इन 2018 सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया हेल्ड दैट इट विल बी कंसिडर्ड रेप इफ अ मैन हैज़ सेक्शुअल इंटरकोर्स विद हिज वाइफ इफ़ शी इज़ एज्ड बिटवीन 15 to 18. तो यहाँ पे पहले एज का क्लॉज आ गया कि अगर 15 to 18 ग्रुप के अंदर जो वाइफ है उसकी एज है तो इसे एज अ रेप कंसिडर किया जाएगा. दिस वाज जजमेंट इन 2018 ऑफ सुप्रीम कोर्ट. लेटर द स्टेट ऑफ कर्नाटका वर्सेस कृष्णप्पा, सुप्रीम कोर्ट हेल्ड दैट द सेक्शुअल वायलेंस अपार्ट फ्रॉम बीइंग dehumanizing act is unlawful intrusion of rights of privacy and sanctity of a female. And then in Suchita Srivastava versus Chandigarh administration, Supreme Court equated the rights to make choices related to sexual activity with the rights to personal liberty, privacy, dignity, bodily integrity under Article 21 of the Constitution. तो Article 21 को यहाँ पे relate किया गया and right to personal liberty and right to make their choices related to sexual activity इनको आपस में relate किया गया. So these are some of the important judgments. पहले एज का क्लॉज आता है कि 15 to 18 अगर वाइफ की एज होगी देन इट कैन बी कंसिडर्ड एज अ रेप. देन इसके बाद सेक्शुअल वायलेंस अगर आती है एंड इफ देर इज डिह्यूमनाइजिंग एक्ट दैट इज डन तो इसे अनलॉफुल इंट्रूजन माना जाएगा टू द राइट ऑफ प्राइवेसी. एंड देन comes the Article 21. Now here we talk about the arguments which are against the criminalizing the marital rape. तो सबसे पहला आर्ग्यूमेंट तो यही है दैट दिस विल डिस्टेबलाइज मैरिज एज एन इंस्टीट्यूशन. इसे फैमिलीज़ में एक एब्सोल्यूट ना किया जाएगी एंड दिस कैन अल्टीमेटली लीड टू डिस्टेबलाइजेशन ऑफ द मैरिज इंस्टीट्यूट. देन देर इज़ ऑल्सो एन इशू ऑफ मिस यूज़ ऑफ लॉ. तो ये एक ईजी टूल बन सकता है फॉर हरासिंग द हस्बैंड बाय मिस यूजिंग द लॉ. दिस कैन बी similar to the growing misuse of section 498. This is the harassment which is caused to a married woman by her husband and her in-laws. तो सेक्शन 498 की जिस तरह मिसयूज़ जो है वो ग्रो कर रहा है, सिमिलरली ये एक ईजी टूल मिल सकता है फॉर हरासिंग द हस्बैंड्स. लॉ कमीशन हैज़ नॉट रिकमेंडेड इट. इंडिया का जो लॉ कमीशन है और जो पार्लियामेंट्री स्टैंडिंग कमेटी है ऑन होम अफेयर्स, they have thoroughly examined the matter and they have not recommended the criminalization of the marital rape. इसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन का भी इशू है. अगर मैरिटल रेप को क्रिमिनलाइज किया जाएगा तो इसके सीरियस इम्प्लीमेंटेशनल इश्यूज हो सकते हैं लाइक वेरासिटी ऑफ टेस्टिमनी, एविडेंसेस इन द कोर्ट एक्सेट्रा. नाउ देयर इज डाइवर्सिटी इन कल्चर. India has its unique problem due to various factors like literacy, lack of financial empowerment of majority of female, mindset of the society. There is vast diversity, poverty, and these should be considered carefully before criminalizing the marital rape. Awareness is more important. Only by criminalizing the marital rape it will not stop the moral and social awareness. It plays an important role in stopping such kind of act. Arguments that are in the favor of criminalizing the marital rape. Here comes ensuring the security of women. So this basically said that if we criminalize the marital rape, this will ensure that women remain safer from their abusive spouses. And they can receive help needed to recover from marital rape and they can save themselves from domestic violence and sexual abuse. And there is one more argument that marriage is not a license for husband to forcibly rape his wife with impunity. Further, a married woman has the same right to control her own body as does an unmarried woman. And इसे आर्टिकल 21 के साथ जब रिलेट किया जाता है तो इसकी जो बॉडीली इंटेग्रिटी है, this is intrinsic to the Article 21. A woman is entitled to refuse sexual relations with her husband as a right to bodily integrity and privacy. It is an intrinsic part of Article 21. And Supreme Court ने भी sanctity of women, freedom to make choices related to sexual activity, इसे भी include किया है under the ambit of Article 21. Very important. Then comes Article 14. Indian women, they deserve to be treated equally under Article 14 and an individual's human rights do not deserve to be ignored by anyone, including their spouses. Torture for life. A woman who is raped by a stranger lives in the memory of a horrible attack. A woman who is raped by her husband lives with the rapist throughout her life. So these are some of the arguments which calls for criminalizing the marital rape. ना इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में अगर हम ग्लोबल प्रैक्टिसेस देखें तो जो मैरिटल रेप इम्यूनिटी है इट इज़ नोन टू सेवरल पोस्ट कॉलोनियल कॉमन लॉ कंट्रीज. ऑस्ट्रेलिया, कैनेडा, साउथ अफ्रीका, they have enacted such laws that criminalizes the marital rape. In UK, the House of Lords overturned the exception in 1991. And वहाँ पे एक landmark decision आता है. There is a case known as R versus R. And the Lords took the view that the time had arrived where the law should be declared that a rapist remains a rapist subject to the criminal law irrespective of his or her relationship with the victim. And even European Court of Justice ने इस ruling को review किया and they upheld the decision of the Lords as a foreseeable evolution of the law. And subsequently UK में 2003 में marital rape को outlaw किया गया by legislation. After this, we should also know what is a split verdict. So, in case of this split verdict, the case is heard by a larger bench. So, this is why judges usually sit in benches of odd numbers like 3s, 5, 7, etc. for the important cases, even though two judge benches or division benches are not common. The larger bench to which a split verdict goes can be a 3-judge bench of High Court or an appeal that can be preferred before Supreme Court. Moving ahead, our next news article is about the pardoning power of President and Governor. This is important from GS paper 2 point of view. This relates with polity. So recently this issue is in news as the union government claimed that the president and not the Tamil Nadu's governor has the exclusive power to decide the Rajiv Gandhi's assassination convict AG Pararivalan's plea for pardon. तो ये जो powers of pardoning है, it is present in the constitution under article 73 and 161. It is different from judicial power as the governor or president, they can grant a pardon or they can reduce the sentence of the court even if a minimum is prescribed. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल प्रोविजंस की अगर हम बात करें तो सबसे पहले प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया की पार्डनिंग पावर देखते हैं. दिस इज मेंशन अंडर आर्टिकल 72. So according to Article 72, the President shall have the power to grant pardon, reprieves, respites and remission of the punishment or to suspend, remit or commute the sentence of any person who is convicted of any offence. So in all the cases जहाँ पे जो punishment है या फिर जो sentence है it is by a court martial. In all cases where punishment or the sentence is for the offence against any law related to the matter to which executive power of union extends, in all the cases where the sentence is the sentence of death, इन सब केसेस में हमारे पास प्रेसिडेंट के पास पावर है टू ग्रांट पार्डन, रिप्राइव्स, रेस्पीट्स, remissions or to suspend or remit or commute the sentences. Article 72 President को ये power देता है that they can grant pardon etc. and they can suspend or they can remit or commute the sentences. गवर्नर की बात करें तो गवर्नर की पावर डिटरमाइन होती है by Article 161 and governor can also grant power. They can also grant pardon, reprieves, respites, remissions of punishment. They can also suspend, remit or commute the sentence of any person who is convicted of any offence against any law to which the executive power of the state extends. तो जहाँ तक state की power है वहाँ तक जो pardoning है वो गवर्नर कर सकता है और जहाँ तक सेंटर की जो पावर एक्सटेंड होती है वहाँ पे pardoning जो है वो प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया करेंगे. But there is a difference between the pardoning power of president and governor. Now article 72 जो कि president की power को govern करते हैं and article 161 जो कि governor की power को govern करता है, the scope of this pardoning power is different. Article 72 के through president को जो pardoning power मिली है, it is more wider than the pardoning power of the governor under article 161. And power basically differ in two ways. One is court martial. So the power of the president to grant the pardon extend in cases where the punishment or the sentence is by court martial. लेकिन आर्टिकल 161 में इस तरह की पावर जो गवर्नर्स को नहीं दी गई है. तो गवर्नर्स कोर्ट मार्शल के केसेस में किसी भी तरह की पार्डन नहीं कर सकते बट प्रेसिडेंट कैन डू. सेकेंड इज डेथ सेंटेंस. President can grant pardon in all the cases where the sentence given is the sentence of death. लेकिन गवर्नर को की पार्डनिंग पावर अगर हम देखें सो इट डज नॉट एक्सटेंड टू द डेथ सेंटेंस केसेस. इसके बाद हमें पता होना चाहिए कि क्या प्रोसेस होता है. व्हाट इज़ द प्रोसेस ऑफ ग्रांटिंग द पार्डन इन इंडिया. तो ये प्रोसेस शुरू होता है बाय फाइलिंग अ मर्सी पिटिशन विद द प्रेसिडेंट अंडर आर्टिकल 72 ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. एंड फिर ये जो पिटिशन है दिस गोज टू द मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ होम अफेयर्स इन द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट फॉर कंसिडरेशन. एंड ये जो अबव मेंशन पिटिशन है दिस इज डिस्कस्ड बाय द होम मिनिस्ट्री इन कंसल्टेशन विद द कंसर्न स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. And after this consultation, the recommendations are made by the Home Minister and then the petition is sent back to the President. After this, if we talk about the pardoning power, so pardoning power is under judicial review as well. Now, in Maru Ram versus Union of India, the Constitutional Bench of Supreme Court held that The power under Article 72 is to be exercised on the advice of central government, not by the president on his own. And the advice of the government binds the head of the republic कि जो भी काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स जो गवर्नमेंट डिसाइड करेंगे उसी से अबाइड करते हुए जो प्रेसिडेंट हैं उनको एक्ट करना होगा. केहर सिंह वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया केस में ये कहा गया that the grant of the pardon by president is an act of grace and therefore it cannot be claimed as matter of right. The power which is exercisable the president being exclusive administrative nature, it is not justiciable. Then स्वरण सिंह वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ यूपी केस में कोर्ट ने कहा कि जो ऑर्डर जो गवर्नर का ऑर्डर है इट इज़ आर्बिटरी, हेंस इट इज़ नीडेड टू बी इंटरडिक्टेड. नाउ अगर हम बाकी कंट्रीज़ में पार्डनिंग पावर देखें, सबसे पहले ब्रिटेन की बात करते हैं. सो दिस द मॉडर्न प्रैक्टिस ऑफ पार्डनिंग, इसका जो ओरिजिन है ये ब्रिटिश सिस्टम में हुआ था, इन विच इट वाज अ रॉयल प्रेरोगेटिव ऑफ किंग टू फॉरगिव. तो यूके में जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोनार्क हैं दे कैन पार्डन एंड दे कैन शो मर्सी टू अ कन्विक्शन और द मिनिस्टीरियल एडवाइस. मिनिस्टीरियल एडवाइस के ऊपर बेस्ड दे कैन शो मर्सी एंड दे कैन पार्डन. अमेरिकन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की बात करें तो यहाँ पे प्रेसिडेंट को पावर दी जाती है दैट दे कैन ग्राइंड द रिप्राइव्स और दे कैन पार्डन फॉर द ऑफेंसेस अगेंस्ट यूएसए एक्सेप्ट इन द केस ऑफ इम्पीचमेंट. However, this power is available only in the case of the federal law. Federal laws violation के टाइम पे ही ये power जो है वो available है. But if there is a violation of state law, so in that case, pardon has to come from the governor of that particular state that is concerned. So this system goes in America. If we talk about Canada, so over there the pardons are considered by the National Parole Board under the Criminal Records Act. लास्टली जो डिफरेंट टर्मिनोलॉजीज़ हमने यहाँ पे यूज़ की हैं इसकी मीनिंग समझ लेते हैं. आप काफ़ी डिटेल में से पॉलिटी की क्लासेस में पढ़ते हैं. व्हाट इज़ पार्डन, कम्यूटेशन, रिप्राइव, रिस्पाइट, रिमिशन, ऑल ऑफ दिस यू रीड इन योर पॉलिटी क्लासेस. पार्डन मीन्स देर इज़ कंप्लीट एब्जॉल्विंग, आप कंप्लीटली जो पर्सन ने जो क्राइम किया है यू आर कंप्लीटली एब्जॉल्विंग इट एंड यू लेटिंग हिम गो फ्री. So the pardoned citizen will be now treated as a normal citizen. Commutation is changing the type of punishment. So so in this particular case, the guilty is into the very little harsh one. So for example, अगर death penalty था तो उसे commute करके life sentence कर दिया जाता है. तो type of punishment change करना commutation है. Reprieve, it means delay allowed in the execution of sentence, like usually death sentence. जो गिल्टी हैं फॉर इन दैट केस द पर्सन हैज़ टाइम मिल जाता है दैट नाउ दे कैन अप्लाई फॉर द प्रेसिडेंशियल पार्डन और द अदर लीगल रेमेडी टू प्रूव हिज और हर इनोसेंस. रिस्पाइट, इट मीन्स रिड्यूसिंग द क्वांटम और डिग्री ऑफ पनिशमेंट. ये स्पेशल केसेस में होता है लाइक प्रेगनेंसी, मेंटल कंडीशन. रिमिशन इज चेंजिंग द क्वांटम ऑफ पनिशमेंट विदाउट चेंजिंग इट्स नेचर. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर रिगरस इम्प्रिजनमेंट मिला था 10 ईयर्स के लिए, 20 ईयर्स के लिए, आप इसको रिड्यूस करके 10 ईयर्स कर सकते हैं. नेचर ऑफ पनिशमेंट चेंज नहीं होता, सिर्फ और सिर्फ जो टेन्योर है, जो क्वांटम है, वो अगर चेंज किया जा रहा है, दिस इज कॉल्ड एज रिमिशन. नाउ आफ्टर दिस अभी हमने इस पूरे आर्टिकल के अंदर जो डिफरेंट टर्म्स यूज़ की हैं, जो पार्डनिंग पावर्स हैं, जैसे कि पार्डन, कम्यूटेशन, रिप्राइव, रिस्पाइट, रिमिशन, ये सब क्या है इसके बारे में जानते हैं. हाउएवर आप इसे काफ़ी डिटेल में अपनी पॉलिटी की क्लासेस में पढ़ते हैं. हियर विल क्विकली गो थ्रू इट. पार्डन का मतलब है अगर जो पनिशमेंट है उसे कम्प्लीटली एब्जॉल्व करना. सो इफ़ यू एब्जॉल्व द क्राइम ऑफ अ पर्सन एंड यू लेट हिम गो फ्री, you pardoned the citizen, it means that now they will be considered as a normal citizen. Completely absolve कर देना, this is called as pardon. कम्यूटेशन की अगर हम बात करें तो कम्यूटेशन में जो टाइप ऑफ पनिशमेंट है वो चेंज की जाती है. फॉर एग्जांपल, किसी को डेथ पेनल्टी दी गई थी, उसे कम्यूट करके लाइफ सेंटेंस किया जा सकता है. रिप्राइव की अगर हम बात करें तो रिप्राइव में लेट्स से देयर इज़ एग्जीक्यूशन, तो उस एग्जीक्यूशन ऑफ सेंटेंस को थोड़ा डिले किया जा सके, दैट इज़ अलाउड, ताकि जो गिल्टी है उन्हें टाइम मिल सके कि वो अपना अप्लाई कर सके फॉर द प्रेसिडेंशियल पार्डन और कोई और लीगल रेमेडी ले सके. रिस्पाइट इज़ रिड्यूसिंग द क्वांटम एंड द डिग्री ऑफ पनिशमेंट. ये स्पेशल केसेस में दी जाती है, जैसे कि प्रेगनेंसी और मेंटल इलनेस, जहाँ पे डिग्री ऑफ पनिशमेंट और क्वांटम ऑफ पनिशमेंट दोनों रिड्यूस किए जाते हैं। रिमिशन एक ऐसी पावर है जिसके अंदर जो क्वांटम ऑफ पनिशमेंट है वो चेंज किया जाता है, लेकिन नेचर चेंज नहीं किया जाता। सपोज किसी को कहा गया कि आपको 20 ईयर्स ऑफ रिगरस इम्प्रिजनमेंट होगी, तो रिमिशन में 20 years can be remitted into 10 years of rigorous punishment. So the quantum of punishment can be changed without changing the nature. After this we have FCRA, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. This is important from GS paper 2 point of view. It is related to polity. So recently again FCRA is in news as the CBI raids 40 locations which were linked to NGOs, and Ministry of Home Affairs officials over-alleged the FCRA violations. So we need to understand that what is FCRA, इसके background को समझते हैं. So this FCRA, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, this was enacted during the emergency in 1976. So at that point of time there were a lot of apprehensions that foreign powers were interfering with India's affairs by pumping money into the country through independent organizations. So these concerns were in fact even older. Even in 1969 they had been expressed in Parliament earlier as well. So the aim of the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act was to regulate the foreign donations to individuals and associations, so that they functioned in a manner which is consistent with the values of the sovereign democratic republic. So this Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, this prohibits the receipt of foreign funds by candidates for election, for journalists, newspaper, media broadcast companies, judges, government servants, member of legislature, political parties, or their office bearers or organizations of political nature. Rather, FCRA rules में कुछ new guidelines आई थी to the banks on the FCRA Act rule. सबसे पहले स्टेट बैंक ऑफ इंडिया में की जो न्यू दिल्ली ब्रांच है उससे रिलेटेड एक प्रोविजन आया. नाउ इट इज़ मैंडेटरी फॉर ऑल द NGOs टू रिसीव फॉरेन फंड्स इन अ डेजिग्नेटेड बैंक अकाउंट एट द SBI's न्यू दिल्ली ब्रांच. इट वाज इंसर्टेड. तो अब जितने भी NGOs हैं अगर उनको फॉरेन कंट्रीब्यूशन रिसीव करनी है तो सबसे पहले उनको न्यू दिल्ली की SBI ब्रांच में एक डेजिग्नेटेड बैंक अकाउंट खोलना होगा. देन all the NGOs which are seeking foreign donation, they have to open a designated FCRA account. उनको SBI branch में FCRA account खोलना होगा. And NGOs can retain their existing FCRA account in any other bank, but it will have to be mandatorily linked to the SBI branch in New Delhi. Then only banking channel is allowed. So foreign contribution has to be received only through banking channels, and it has to be accounted for in proper manner. एंड यहाँ पे अगर हम OCI और PIOs की बात करें तो अगर डोनेशंस इंडियन रुपी में आई है बाय एनी फॉरेन सोर्स इंक्लूडिंग फॉरेनर्स ऑफ इंडियन ओरिजिन लाइक OCI और PIO कार्ड होल्डर्स, it should be treated as foreign contributions only. And then it requires NGOs to give an undertaking that the acceptance of these foreign funds is not likely to prejudicially affect the sovereignty and integrity of India. ना ही ये हमारे फॉरेन स्टेट्स के साथ रिलेशन को हैम्पर करेगा, एंड दिस विल नॉट डिस्टर्ब द कम्युनल हार्मनी. सॉवरेंटी ऑफ इंडिया जो है वो मेंटेन रहेगी, इंटेग्रिटी बनी रहेगी. इसे लेकर NGOs को एक अंडरटेकिंग भी देनी होती है. नाउ मेजर क्रिटिसिज्म अगर हम देखें तो दीज डेज वी आर सीइंग दैट देयर इज अननेसेसरीली इंटरनेशनल क्रिटिसिज्म. Significantly all the NGOs on the latest list which work on climate change and environmental projects or child rights or slavery projects. So these are the subjects where government has been sensitive to the international criticism. तो इसकी वजह से international criticism cite होता है. There is international pressure regarding law making and over compliance. So see, despite India's record is in complying with Paris Agreement, there is global pressure on intensifying on India to raise the nationally determined contributions. So this is detrimental to Indian image as well as the poverty reduction plans also. India is in जो NGOs हैं, they are involved in violation of FCRA. So there are several pro-climate NGOs. They are focusing on advocacy against coal in the in the media, and it is considered a violation of FCRA provision. And then there is biased data and poor ranking on several indices. Like in 2017, International Labour Organization का Global Slavery Index आया था, and in which India was ranked 53 out of 167 countries, and where modern slavery was prevalent as the country with highest number of people with forced labour. And Ministry of Home Affairs questioned the credibility of this data. Then if we talk about internal security, so there is 3 US NGOs. They were found to be fueling protest at the Kundamkulam nuclear project site after strained Indo-US relations. तो internal security को भी affect करते हैं. And FCRA clearances has been a big issues for several years. Government has often been accused of targeting NGOs for political and ideological reasons by cancelling or renewing their clearances. So as we talk about FCA, it is about receiving foreign funding. So we should know that how can one receive the foreign funding. तो सबसे पहले foreign contributions को receive करने के लिए you need to apply for prior permission. तो जो letter of commitment है from the foreign donor specifying the amount and the purpose is also required. And then it is granted for the receipt of specific amount from a specific donor for carrying out a specific activity. And the association should be registered under the statute like Societies Registration Act 1860, the Indian Trust Act 1862, Section 25 of the Companies Act 1956, जिसके बाद जो है वो foreign funding receive की जा सकती है. And these days registration का suspend होना या cancel होना ये भी issue काफ़ी news में रहा है. So Ministry of Home Affairs जब इन accounts की inspection करता है या फिर when they receive any adverse input against the functioning of the association, they can suspend the FCRA registration initially for 180 days. So Ministry of Home Affairs can cancel the registration of an organization which is not eligible for registration or the grant for prior permission for 3 years from the date of cancellation. Until the decision is taken, the association cannot receive any fresh donation. Fresh donation अब वो receive नहीं कर सकते अगर उनको suspend कर दिया गया है, cancel कर दिया गया है उनकी registration. But they can utilize more than 25% of the amount which is available in the designated bank without the permission of MHA. Now इस पूरे issue को लेकर अगर हम government का stand देखें, so they have government has always contended कि जो amendments की गई हैं these are necessary to prevent the foreign state and the non-state actors from interfering with India's polity and internal matters. And the changes हैं they also needed because this will prevent the malpractices by NGOs like the diversion of the foreign funds. And now we want to prevent the diversion of funds. It is also one of the reasons which is cited for reducing the administrative expense component. As some organizations, they tended to inflate the actual expenditure incurred. So the provision of having one designated bank for receiving the foreign funds, it is basically aimed to make it easier to monitor the flow of funds. And government has clarified that there was no need for anyone to come to Delhi to open the account as it can be done remotely as well. Moving ahead, our next topic is important from GS paper 3 point of view. This relates to science and technology. It is about MARSQUAKE. So MARSQUAKE is in news as recently NASA's InSight lander has detected a quake on Mars. This is the largest ever observed on any other planet. So if we see the key points of this, so InSight rover, it first landed on Mars in November 2018 and तब से लेकर अभी तक 1313 quakes जो थे वो अभी तक डिटेक्ट किए गए थे. But the largest previously recorded the MARSQUAKE was detected in the August 2021. तो जो अर्थक्वेक जिसे हम यहाँ पे कहते हैं कि अर्थक्वेक आ गया, सिमिलरली मार्स पे जो टेक्टोनिक मूवमेंट्स हो रही है उसे कहा जा रहा है मार्सक्वेक. सो if we talk about Earth, so over here the quakes are caused by the shifts in the tectonic plates. If we talk about Mars, Mars does not have tectonic plates and its crust is a giant plate basically. Therefore, NASA notes that the Mars quakes are caused due to the stress that cause rock fractures or faults in its crust. सो मार्सक्वेक का जो एस्टिमेट जो रहा है दैट इज टू, अगर मैग्नीट्यूड की बात करें तो इट हिट द मैग्नीट्यूड 5 ऑन द स्केल विच इज़ यूज्ड ऑन अर्थ. Magnitude 5 earthquake on would be like a moderate kind of earthquake. It only causes minor damage. However, it's right at the upper end of the size of the earthquakes that scientists are developing on the Mars. So Mars पे जो quakes आ रहे हैं, these are basically MARSQUAKES, and this is basically because of the less system, seismic activity over Mars. These are difficult to detect. MARSQUAKES are, they are not very violent like earthquake. They are more difficult to detect, and other vibrations like from wind, for example, they can interfere with the readings. So after MARSQUAKE, NASA's InSight becomes important. So InSight is a short form for interior exploration using seismic investigations, Gaussian and heat transport. It's a Mars lander which was designed to give the red planet its first thorough checkup since it is formed 4.5 billion years ago. तो ये फर्स्ट आउटर स्पेस रोबोटिक एक्सप्लोरर है विच इज़ गोइंग टू स्टडी इन डेप्थ द इनर स्पेस ऑफ मार्स, इट्स क्रस्ट, मेंटल एंड कोर. So with InSight, scientists hope to compare Earth and Mars so that we can better understand how the planet starting materials make it more or less likely to support the life. Then if we talk about the functions of NASA's InSight, so the lander uses the cutting edge instrument basically to dwell the deep beneath the surface and to seek the fingerprints of processes that form the terrestrial planets. तो इसे लेकर जो planet के vital signs हैं, suppose seismology is kind of pulse of the planet. The heat flow is about like the temperature of the planet, and the precision tracking is the reflexes. So the InSight is also going to measure the tectonic activity and the meteorite impact on the Mars. And InSight is not looking for life on Mars, but it is basically studying what Mars is made of. How is material laid over there? How much heat seeps out of it? इससे पहले भी जो पास्ट डिस्कवरी प्रोग्राम की अगर हम बात करें, so this mission is part of NASA's Discovery program for highly focused science missions that ask critical questions in solar system science. And if we talk about the present status, so InSight has now run into the technical difficulties. So with the onset of the Martian winter and increased level of dust in the air, the lander is struggling to get enough sunlight on the solar planets that powers it up. तो इससे क्या हो रहा है, अब सनलाइट नहीं मिल पा रही है तो पावर नहीं हो पा रहा है. So as a result of this, the machine has put itself into the safe mode for the time being. So this hibernation shutdowns all but the most essential functions, but it may be some time before we hear anything from the InSight again. तो मार्शियन विंटर्स आते ही वहाँ पे जो डस्ट है वो काफ़ी इंक्रीज़ हो जाती है, एंड देयरफॉर जो InSight है, जो लैंडर है, it is not able to get enough sunlight, so it is right now in the hibernation mode. Then significance of InSight program is to learn, first of all, it's going to learn about the Mars. We are going to, by studying the seismic waves which are traveling across the Mars. So scientists basically hope that we'll be able to know more about the Mars crust, mantle and core. This will also help us in understanding how Mars and other planets like Earth, they were formed in the first place. By studying Mars' interior structure, it kind of act like an answer key, about early formation of rocky planets in the inner solar system. When we talk about rocky planets, it includes Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars, and which are more than 4 billion years ago. These were formed as a rocky exoplanets. So हमें जो formation है उसको लेकर कुछ clues पता चलेंगे. And then if we talk about the life on Mars, see, there is possibility of liquid water on it, either in the past or preserved in the subsurface. It makes the planet more intriguing for the scientists. Regardless of life having existed on Mars or not, there is this idea that humans themselves might also be able to inhabit the planet one day. Other than the InSight, NASA's InSight mission, there are other missions that are dedicated to Mars. One is UAE's Hope, China's Tianwen-1 and NASA's Perseverance. So lastly, Atal Innovation Mission, AIM's prime program is in news. So recently the government has launched this Atal Innovation Mission's Prime Playbook, basically to help the academics launch deep tech spin-offs. So over here, PRIME stands for Program for Researchers in Innovation, Market Readiness and Entrepreneurship. So this has been launched by Atal Innovation Mission Niti Aayog, and for this Atal Innovation Mission has joined hands with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and this is basically the nationwide program, and this will be implemented by the Venture Center. It's a non-profit technology business incubator. So the aim of this entire project or the program is to promote the early stage science-based deep technology ideas to market through training guidance over the period of 12 months using blended learning curriculum. And इस प्रोग्राम के लिए जो टारगेट ऑडियंस रहेगी दैट इज़ बेसिकली द टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलपर्स एंड द इंक्यूबेशन मैनेजर्स. फोकस एरिया साइंस बेस्ड रहेगा, नॉलेज इंटेंसिव एंड डीप टेक्नोलॉजी एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप. ड्यूरेशन इज़ पेस्ड इन स्टेज ओवर अ ड्यूरेशन ऑफ 9 months. एंड इस प्रोग्राम के जो बेनिफिट्स रहने वाले हैं, वन इज़ द प्राइम प्ले बुक, द गाइड फॉर द साइंस बेस्ड एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप एंड वेंचर्स, द प्राइम लाइब्रेरी. It's a curated resource which will be shared by the faculty and expert members associated with the program, and the prime videos and open access video collection of the lectures delivered as part of this prime classroom. If we talk about the significance, which is the most important part, see, developing products in sectors like healthcare, it needs technical knowledge and new inventions, and thus there is need to nurture the science-based deep tech startups. Prime can nurture vehicles that can attract the capital into high risk reward pursuit. So to convert the funded R&D capabilities into products and services in market, the Atal Innovation Mission's Prime program is serving a very important purpose. So that is all for this video. आज की इस वीडियो के लिए इतना ही. I will see you all in my next one. Thank you so much.